Hey guys, we're going to be doing some trap modification to Duke number 2s today. This is my Duke number 2s. I haven't modified them at all, so what I've done, I just got my shipment in. So I have my jaw laminations. I have some MB crunch-proof swivels, so I'll be adding swivels to my lines. I have my base plates that I will be welding on. And lastly, I have my PET 19B shock springs. I went ahead and got the strongest ones. They were only 20 cents more a piece or something. So I'm going to put all these things on, take my chains off, and add just swivels and a shock spring. So I won't really have any chain at all. So you'll see that at the end product. And so we'll go ahead and get started with the modification. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is get this J-hook off of my Duke trap. I have a heavy duty J-hook tool, very simple to use. You just open the J-hook tool up, put the 2 points inside the J-hook and just press down, and my J-hook opens right up. So I can take my chain off, take my J-hook out, and that's as simple as that. Some people reuse these J-hooks, some people don't. Depending on what parts I do have, I may be using these, I may not. We'll see it in the final product, but easy as that. Took that off. Now I'm going to have to boil these in water to get all the wax off. These have been waxed and dyed. So I'm going to boil these in water, get all the dirt, get all the wax off, so that I'll be able to weld my base plate on easily and get my laminations welded on, which I'll be doing tomorrow. So that was the first step. I'll take the rest of these chains off these traps, and tomorrow we will start welding. Okay guys, we got the chains off these Dukes, and now we're about to actually weld the laminations on. I've got me a small piece of metal to put in between the jaws, so mainly the reason for that is so I can flush these laminations right up against it. We'll put some spot welds here, here, and here. We'll do that on both sides, and we'll have the laminations done. The other thing we'll do while we're doing that and got the welder out, we're going to be putting the base plate on. The base plate will go right here. We're going to be welding on this end. We'll put a weld here, and we'll put a weld here, and the same thing on this side. We'll weld here, here, and on the other side. We'll make sure to stay away from these springs to not weld them closed, so the trap will still work, and we should be ready to go. Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and night latch these Dukes while we're getting some of them welded up. I'm just going to take this metal file. I'm going to go right here behind my notch where the dog goes in and file that down. See that little notch, and that's where it's going to sit. And now let me set it for you, see if you can see it. I don't know if you'll be able to or not. And snap, there it is. Nice level pan, night latch, took 2 seconds, and we're ready to go. Okay guys, a little before and after. I have one still not done. So here's my regular Duke number 2, no modifications whatsoever. The chain of course came from the side, nothing on the bottom. What I've done, we've put a spot weld here and here to make that stronger. We put a base plate on, we put laminations on, and all of the traps I have night latched. Here is the finished product. We've got laminations welded on. We've got base plate welded on all the way around both sides. All the way around you can see the spot weld inside on both of those sides, and we should be pretty good to go. This thing is not latched as well. So later on, when these cool down, I will get the chains on, the swivels, and the PIT shock springs. Okay guys, all the modifications are complete. We've got the jaws laminated, we've got the base plates welded on, I've got all the traps night latched. Now I have to put the pieces together. This is the PIT 19B. It's the strongest spring for the inline shock spring. I have a connector. I'm going to put it at the end. I'll show you how I'll connect that to my cable stakes. I have a MB crunch proof swivel. That will be the first swivel on my trap. And then I have my old Duke swivels that I will actually add to the bottom of that. So it's going to look like this pretty much when it gets completed with this onto the trap. And so we'll get started with that right now. Okay, what I've noticed with this heavy duty J-hook is that once you get this on here, it's a little difficult to get a hold of with this other piece. So the first thing I do is actually make that a little smaller just to start off with. Get it on here so I can get a hold of it a little bit better. There you go. You can see that's on there pretty quick. I'm going to go ahead and clamp this one up because I can connect it in just a second with the other swivel. Okay, that swivel's on there good. Take my other Duke swivel. They of course are not very heavy duty, so it's pretty simple to squeeze them together. And so there, that's on there. Got my last one here. It's actually going to connect to this one, so I'm going to go ahead and close this one up. Connect this one through. Once again, it gets a little tricky when you've got another piece on there. There that is, closed up through. Go ahead and close this piece. And what I'm going to do with this is a quick connector. And the reason I want it last is because I can put this on and off of my, close that on up. And so what I can do is attach this to my cable stake loop. So if I want to leave the stake in the ground, I can. I just unattach it and go. And right there it is, the completed trap. I'll back that up for you. That's what it's going to look like. That's in the ground. That thing's not going anywhere. Base plated solid, laminations on it. I'm going to boil these in some walnut water. Dye them up good and black here in just a second. I'll walk you through that process as well. Then I'm going to wax them, and these things are going to be ready for the ground. Okay guys, I've got my walnuts boiling here in the kitchen. No, I'm not going to dip my traps and take them out of my pot while I'm in the kitchen. I will be walking them outside, but I am going to boil it in here. Then I'll carry the pot outside, remove the traps, and carry it back in so my wife will hopefully not kill me. While that's boiling and getting ready for the dye, I'm going to show you why I wanted to put these quick links on these traps. These are the cable stakes that I use. I buy these off of eBay. You can just look for earth anchors on eBay. They're about the same price as Berkshires or whatever, but they work great for me. And this is my cable. And it just attaches with one of these here that you can use this tool for. So what I do, if you can see that, just take that on the end, wrap it all the way close to the bottom, because I do not need much cable in this hard Georgia red clay. Put my cable through just like so, and let's make a big loop with about that much wire left over. As you can see, my big loop, and then I'll just tighten that down as tight as I can get it. Alright, that's good and tight. That's not going to come out of there, I can assure you of that. Now when I put this in the ground, I just take my quick link, unscrew it, slide that on, and now I have my entire piece. And that's what it looks like, driven in the ground. Now let's dye some traps. Okay guys, here are my walnuts. I've got them tied up just in a t-shirt so all the shells and things won't come out into the actual water. I've got the water boiling really good. This is just a canning pot I bought for $18, and I can just pick that out and let all the water drain. So I'm going to take this outside and then just have nothing but the good black walnut water, and I'll start setting my traps in it. Okay guys, I have all of the walnuts out, nothing but black water. I'm going to set these traps in here. I will drop these down in just a second so that should cover all the traps up. I'm going to boil them for about 15 minutes and see what we got. Okay, so I've got my traps that I've dyed. I still have some in the pot, but they're drying up right now. And let me go show you where we'll be waxing, which is right over here. Of course, I'm not going to get this hot wax in the kitchen. It stinks up the entire house. I have done it before, and I just save my wax after I do this, and so you can see the wax that I've had that was still in there is slowly starting to melt. So by the time I get these other traps out of the dye, some of those will be nice and dry and ready for the wax, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to just set him down in there. Now my wax does not cover my entire trap, but what I'm going to do is flip this around and get some wax on my trap. Of course, there's still a little water in there, but look at how that wax right there, how it's dried. The way I know when the trap is ready is when the trap gets hot enough to where that wax will melt. Then I know it's time to flip it over and wax the rest of it, and the wax will coat it really nicely, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, as you see that wax starting to melt now? That means that that trap is now as hot as the wax and has melted it. Still got a little bit. I'm going to wait for the coil springs to melt, and then I'll turn it over so I can coat what is not now showing. But that's how I determine when the trap is actually ready. So now I'm going to flip it over. Okay, I have now flipped it over. You can see that trap just looks wet, and you'll see it better when I pull it out here in just a second. And it just looks like water on the trap, and that's what you want it to look like. When I pull it out in a second, you'll see what it looks like, and I'll let it sit there for about 60 more seconds. It won't take long, and I'll pull it out. Okay guys, you can see that wax just falls right off just like water. So now I'm going to hang it up to dry, and I'll do the rest of them. And guys, that is pretty much my entire process from start to finish for modifications, and now the trap's ready to go in the ground. I hope you might have learned something or know of a better way to do something. If you do, let me know.